This is a 1965 Ford Mustang GT. Has a 289 V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor. What I want to do today is set the points. I will set them with a gauge, and I'll also use a Tach dwell. So this is the engine itself. Here's your air cleaner, valve covers. Here's the water pump. Here's the hose going to the thermostat housing where the thermostat is located. Here's your oil filter down there, gas filter. Here's the alternator. And here's what we're looking for, is the distributor. So what we have to do is find out, and we'll look it up in a book shortly, is what setting it should be. I also want to check the rotation. Does it go counterclockwise or clockwise? I also want to find out where is number one plug. Is it this one or is it this one? And the book will tell us. So let's go take a look. So here's my old trusty Motors Auto Repair Manual. This one is 1970. $2.25, so you can imagine how long I've had this one. See, it covers a lot of cars. Here's the car information. So we'll go American Motors, Buick, Chevy, but we want the Ford. This is Ford, Fairlane, Mustang. That's what we want. Okay, so now we know what section we're looking. What we're really looking for is the tune-up specifications. Okay, so what we're looking for, down the side, well, let's see. You'll have the year, the engine, the spark plug, the type, the gap, distributor. This is what we're looking for. Point gap, dwell angle. It has a firing order. So now we go down to the year. And we are here, 1965. Here's a 6-cylinder, not interested. Here. V8 289. So it takes a BF-42 spark plug. The gap met 0.034. Okay, so here's what we're looking for. Point gap in inches, 0.017. So we get a feeler gauge and look at that, and then the using a Tach dwell instrument, it says 26 to 31. Okay, now we want to know the firing order is N. So we look over here, here's figure N. Okay, so let's figure out, okay, so here we are. Here's the front of the motor. Here's the cap, so it says there's a clip on the front and on the back of it. And that's what we're looking for. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is on the passenger side. And it is located right on this side of that clip. So that's, we know that that's number 1. And we're going to check the rotation. It goes counterclockwise. Just follow that arrow. So here's our distributor. There is the number 1 spark plug coming over here. So since we're going to have to get in back of it, let's just take the air cleaner off just to give us more room. Oh, by the way, this is your pollution control on these 1965s. Basically, if the car burns oil or whatever, the smoke will come out of here, goes into this tube, goes into the air cleaner, and goes right back into the carburetor. That's it. So we'll snap the back one off, put the screwdriver in here, and just snap this off. Then we'll just gently lift it off, and we'll see where we are. Here's your rotor. This part right here makes contact with the center, right in there. This part right here goes around. Remember, we looked in the book and it said counterclockwise. It will make contact with each one of these metal spikes here, or whatever you want to call them. And when it contacts that goes to the wire, that goes down to the spark plug. So here you are looking directly at the distributor itself. Notice on Fords, especially, well, 289, all these Fords, they're in the front. But the other thing about them is that to adjust, to adjust the points, you have to take the distributor cap off. It doesn't have a little magic window here. So, but let's just look. What I want to do is pull this off. There goes the rotor. So here's the point itself. Here's a condenser. I've been doing this since I've been 14 years old, but we used to replace the condenser. Then after a while we didn't even bother, because these condensers, they're not like the stuff made today. These things just last forever. I don't think they ever wore out. Okay, so what happens is the shaft turns counterclockwise, and here's the points. So what happens with the points is that every time it hits a high spot, it opens, and then when it goes to the flat side, it closes. So what we're trying to do is get it on the high spot right there so that it opens, and that way we can adjust the gap. So we're looking for 0.17. Alright, so what I am going to do is, to make sure that it's all the way up, I am just going to turn. Oh, hang on, wait. I gotta take it out of gear. Okay, being that this is a manual transmission, it is not going to move in gear. Okay, so I am going to rotate the engine, and you can see it's going to open and close as it goes from point to point. This is an 8-cylinder, so it's got 8 spark plugs, it's got 8 points. Okay, there it is on the flat side, totally closed. So now, let me bring it up. Okay, now you can see that's the highest point on that, on the highest point here. So that would be the widest it's going to open. Now, to check that, I have what they call as a feeler gauge. Okay, this is a, okay, so that says Goodell Pratt Company, Greenfield, Massachusetts, USA, number 408. Okay, so I've only had this, well, I don't know, this is my dad's. I've used this since I've been 14 years old. I don't know how long he's had it, but you can see some of these are pretty well used, okay, because we always used to gap the spark plugs or adjust the valves on the car, because we used to race and we used all this special stuff, and it always needed to be tuned up. Okay, so if you look on one side here, let me see if I can see a number. Okay, this one says, I don't know if you can see that, 23, but that's not looking. Oh, here's another one, 19, 18, 17. That's what we want, number 17. Okay, so we'll put all the rest of these away, and here we only need one. Alright, so to check the gap, we stick it right in there, and it moves in there nice and tight. Okay, so now, okay, so I just moved it to 16. Let's see what 16 says. Yeah, it still fits tight, but that's fine. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'm going to take that out, even though it doesn't need to, but I want to show you how to do it, because this is not that difficult. First thing I'm going to do is take this wire off. This wire is the one that goes to the coil. So let me just loosen this. Nope, doesn't like those. Okay. Well, I guess it's not gonna like that either. Okay, so since I can't get the regular pliers in there, this says number 8. Believe it or not, I've never even used this before because it's so small. So that happens to fit right on that nut. Now, be careful. Don't let that nut or any of these screws fall inside underneath here, because if you do, you're going to have to pull the distributor. That's another whole job by itself. Okay, so I'm just going to loosen that and take one wire. Remember, this one goes to the distributor, and this one, now why it's so hard, come on guys. Okay, this one goes to the condenser, so we'll have to hook both of these back up on the same thing. Now, using your trusty screwdriver, we'll take one off. Come on guys, don't get in my way. Okay. Whoa, be careful, be careful. Okay, there's one. And this one is the adjustment screw. Alright, so we'll carefully take that off. Okay, so now with this one, lift the points up carefully with the screw in there. Alright. Okay, so when you look at the points themselves, here it is. See, so this is what's going on. Open, open, open. Okay? And here's another thing to look at and see if this is wore out. Then we can look inside here and see if the contact is pitted or whatever. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta go time out. Okay, so I panicked because this nut fell off and it fell down. Good thing it fell all the way to the floor, because if it fell in the motor or whatever behind the radiator, I would have never bought it, never found it. Okay, so that is what we're going to look at right here, a little closer. Now, this is a Ford. This one here is basically the same thing, except this comes off my 70 Chevelle with a 350 V8. And same thing as you look for, see how the contacts look, and to adjust it, it makes it easy because you just put an Allen wrench on here and turn it without having to taking the distributor cap off. And here is same thing off of a Chevrolet, but this one's a little different design because it has the condenser built right in, but once again it has an adjuster here. And here is the nylon that rubs on the 8-point shaft to lift it up and down. See, but they're all the same. They do the same thing. They're just made a little different. Each car manufacturer. Okay, years ago, when all these cars had points on them, before they went to electronic distributor, some old timers, they didn't want to buy points. So what they would do is take a file and go in here and gently take off the high parts. Because you can see there's a lot of material there. And it makes a brand new surface on both sides. Just got to make sure you do it nice and flat. There you go. See, it's brand new. It doesn't take much. So you see that, what I'm doing? See, it just nice and flat, and go a little bit, easy, 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 easy. And you got a perfect flat surface, and it takes off any high spots, or you know, because it's just from sparking. Okay, so if you want to get crazy, you can do that. Alright, now let me put this back on. I am going to put a little tiny bit of grease around here, because that's what that little plastic thing runs on. I don't want a lot, just a little bit, just a thin little coat. Alright, okay, so now let's put the points back in. There's our points. Just lines up. See, now this one is the locking one, this one is the adjusting one. Oh boy. Put it through this grounding cable. Okay. Okay, we started one. Perfect. Perfect. Alright, so now let's go get the other one. Now, the reason I say be careful is because I have, in the past, when I was a kid, I dropped one of these screws in there and I had to take the distributor out. Okay, we're safe now. Alright, so let me tighten this one up a little bit more. Alright, now I'm going to make sure we're on the highest part. Let me go around again to the next one. There. Okay. We're on the highest one. So now we get our feeler gauge. Okay, at number 17. I'll stick that in there. There it is. Now I'll tighten it. And tighten it so it locks it in position. Oh, there, see, now you can turn that. Here's the vacuum advance working. See as it moves? Okay, so let's tighten the adjustment one more time. Now we can pull out our feeler gauge. There's a little slot here where you can adjust it. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this down just a little bit. And here's a slot where you put your screwdriver. Alright, so I'll adjust it there. And then let's see. See, that's too loose. Okay, so let me tighten it up just a touch more. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, just a touch more. There. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tighten that down. Tighten this one down. Now let me check it again. There. That feels a lot better. So that's our point 017 gap at the highest point. The next thing is, don't forget the wires. That's enough. Okay, so this wire, let's see, this one goes for the condenser. Okay, so let's do these instead of doing them like this, because that's how they were on there. I don't know why. But it'll be back to back, as you can see. Here's the back, and here's the back of the clip. So we'll just reverse these. Okay, they're both nicely seated in there. So we'll tighten this up. And if you don't have one of these, what is this?
number 5mm. Well, you can use a pair of pliers. Get a pair of needle nose pliers or something else. Whatever you have. Okay, so it's nice and tight. Out of the way. There you go. Now, remember we put grease on here, so that piece of plastic that the point's right on is lubricated. The next thing what we want to do, and I have forgotten this before, put the rotor on it, and you put the cap on, you don't understand why the car won't start. You know. So it's got that groove here. If you look inside, you'll see that it's got a little notch over there. And it just fits right in, and then if it's not, you just rotate it until it falls into place. Okay, now the next thing is the distributor cap. So we just put that right back on, and notice it has a notch, and it goes right over here, so you can't put it on wrong. Okay, so I'll just snap this one on and reach over and snap that on. Okay, there we go. Now, remember, number 1, that's over here, that's number 1 spark plug, and we're rotating this way. Alright, so now, let's start it up. Okay, so I started the car up, and I let it run to get it warmed up. Alright, so now the next thing is, let's see how good we are with the feeler gauge. Now, this thing is a Tach Dwell. It's a manufacturer. It says Tach, Dwell Tach on here. Who made this thing? Oh boy. Instrument Service Company. OTSEGO, Michigan. Okay, here's the directions. Clip red to the distributor, primary terminal, or coil minus. Okay. That's the distributor side over there. That's where that black cable came from, the points inside. Okay. Then it says set cylinder switch the number of cylinders. And this one here is 6 or 8, so we put it to 8. Move test switch to Tach. Read engine RPM on blue scale. Okay. Blue scale is up on the top. And here's Tach and Dwell. So we'll put it on Dwell. And it says, move it to Dwell. Read Dwell on black scale. Read Dwell on black scale. Okay, so let's hook this up and see if we're any good or not. So, once again, it says red, clip to distributor. Okay, red, clip to distributor. Here, let me come this way. Because, and here is the negative to the battery. The reason I'm saying that is because this wire is flipping around here and it catches that fan. You're going to be pretty mad because it's going to take your Tach Dwell machine and destroy it, and you might even get hurt in the process. So keep the wires away from that fan. That is a danger area. Alright, now let me start this car. See, that's a good sign to start with because it started right up. So, with the car warmed up, let's go and read the Tach. Can you see this? There's my neighbor's dog. He's scared of himself. It's right around 500 going on 6. Now let me go inside and look at the tachometer inside the car. Okay, so that reads about the same. Alright, so the next thing is, let's go to Dwell. Alright, so we put it on Dwell. What are we reading? Oh, let's see, that's 25, let's see, 30, 28. No, let's see, 28,
No, 29. Let's see. That says 29. Now let me go check the manual one more time just for the hell of it. Okay, so here we go. Tune-up specs. Oh, come on. Here's the distributor. Dual angle. We're looking for 289. It says 26 to 31. And here's the feeler gauge was .017. So it looks like all that. Where are we? Looks like all that fooling around with that feeler gauge put us to 29. So we're below 31 and above 27. So we're right in the middle. Perfect. Doesn't get any better. So that's how you use this thing. Now this thing, I don't know where you get one. I haven't seen them at the auto parts store in several years. But this one is just as old as they come. In fact, this used to belong to my dad. But he doesn't need it anymore. Especially where he is. So that's how you change the point, and you gap them with a feeler gauge. Gap one with a feeler gauge, and this one was .017. It's stamped right on here, so you can't see it. And then after that, you come over here with your Tach dwell machine, set it on 8 cylinders, and then there's another setting on this side that says Tach and dwell, and then 2 wires. The red one, see how dirty this is. Boy, this is pretty old, isn't it? Wow, look at that red. Okay, and then the black one goes to the minus on the battery. And if you get it wrong, if you put the red to the right one and put the black one to the positive, it just jumps off scale. So you put it to the negative, and then you can read your dwell. And that's it. So that takes care of changing the points, condenser and points. Usually when you buy them, well, I don't know anybody does anymore, but today, or yesterday, in the 60s and 70s, it would come with a condenser automatically. Okay, so not very hard, and just don't be afraid, just go section by section. Alright, now I'm going to just put the air cleaner back on, and we're done.